All hail the Clicks crew. Alright guys, today we're covering more Heroclix 2021 rules changes. This time it's rules number 5, From a Distance. So this is going to cover a bunch of things. It's pretty cool. If you're interested in videos like this, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you see these videos as they become available. I cover this stuff all the time. I do unboxings and all kinds of cool stuff when new sets come out and whatnot. So it'd be really cool to have you join the Clicks crew. Before we get into this video though, now's a good time to let you know that Mr. Clicks Flicks is sponsored by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama, home of the ROC. No matter if you're in the United States or around the world, Lucky Dice Cafe has the winning role for our gaming needs. You can visit them at luckydicecafé.com or on their Facebook page using the link found in the description of this video. Mr. Clicks Flicks is also sponsored by trollandtoad.com, one of the largest online gaming retailers. Visit trollandtoad.com, use the promo code Mr. Clicks Flicks for 5% off your Heroclix order today. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and flop back over here. If you want to read this article for yourself in your own leisure time, just go to heroclix.com, click on the press room. It's right there for you to read. I will try my best to do timestamps to just skip to my own feelings about these rules changes. But I do feel like it does a disservice to not read this to you guys so that we know what's going on. So here we are. Rules change. Rules 5, From a Distance. Heroclix Mastermind. It's no secret to Heroclix players that there's a huge advantage to acting from a distance instead of up close. This isn't just talking about range combat. It means utilizing hypersonic speed, maybe even with barrier to keep your opponent away after, or even utilizing buffs like Perplex and Krakoan Revival while out of range of opponents' threats. One of our goals of this set of rules updates is to help level the playing field between close and range attackers. We've tried to do this by strengthening close attackers and removing some obstacles they face. We're going to start off with a quick summary of changes, followed by some details on our thought processes. Characters with multiple bolts will be able to make multiple targets even when making close attacks. So this is something that's really cool. People have talked about this for a while, about if I have 3 bolts, why can't I make 3 close attacks? So that's cool. Hindering Terrain will no longer impact movement, but it will continue to impact targeting. Knockback will do less damage and default to move a character 3 squares. Bolts and targeting. Ever since the introduction of characters who had multiple bolts on their dial, therefore multiple targets, it was reserved for ranged attackers. While we don't have a perfect insight into the minds of the designers at the time, something we uncovered in our research is that many players believed that the fact close combat attackers could still attack while in base combat with opposing characters meant they had a way to shut off the extra targeting capabilities of ranged attackers. Additional bolts only working for ranged attacks is part of what divides the haves and have-nots of Heroclix. From a thematic perspective, it's easy to picture Batman knocking over multiple goons with a single leg sweep. It's easy to picture Wonder Woman punching in one direction while kicking in another. The game balance makes sense. The theme makes sense. From the players we spoke with while considering these changes, most were happy to see this and feel it was overdue. We realize in the short term that characters with multiple bolts will primarily be ranged attackers. They won't be optimized to use multiple bolts at close like a character with flurry and close combat expert might be. So while the rules are implementing this change now, it might take some time for the impact high-level tournament games, since multi-target close combat attackers are only beginning to debut in Wonder Woman 80th anniversary. We know players will be eagerly looking over some older figures in search of new combos on the multi-target characters in their collection. Hindering Terrain. While it might not feel like Hindering Terrain disproportionately helps ranged attackers right now, it benefits them relative to close attackers in at least 2 ways. It can be damaging to get near a ranged attacker in Hindering Terrain. It can be challenging to get near a character's backup, probability control, outwit, perplex, that hide in Hindering Terrain. Even though characters using ranged attacks would have a hard time landing a hit with Hindering Terrain, their ability to have a chance meant a lot compared to close combat attackers potentially losing tempo and never even making it to the die roll. By helping level the playing field between range and close attackers, in this way, we believe the strategic depth of Heroclix improves. From a theme perspective, we consider the description of Hindering Terrain from 2017 rules. Terrain is harder to traverse, like park benches. It doesn't seem like something that would slow down most heroes, even ones that would always be given improved movement, hindering to like Batman, the Flash, and Wonder Woman, who wouldn't even slow down most. It wouldn't even slow down most athletic civilians like Jimmy Olsen in a tense situation. Removing the movement penalty of Hindering Terrain, but keeping the hindrance on targeting had a few benefits. Stealth continues to be meaningful. Characters won't need a way around Hindering Terrain, like improved movement, hindering or flight, to have a great move and attack piece or stealth piece. Future figures design can have more interesting gameplay relating to Hindering Terrain without being oppressive. New rules text for Hindering Terrain appearing in the rulebook. Hindering line of fire. When a character makes a ranged attack and a hindering line of fire is drawn between the attacker and its target, modify the target's defense +1 for the attack. Knockback. Knockback is fun and flavorful, but it has a lot of variability. How far will a character get knocked back? How much damage will they take? The core rulebook lets people know that knockback pushes the character away by 3 squares. They stop if they'd hit something. For casual kitchen table play, that's enough. Step 5. Knockback sequence. Characters are sometimes knocked back by an especially hard-hitting attack. When a character is knocked back, the attacking player places them up to 3 squares away from the character that hit them. If something would block a knocked back character, they aren't knocked back any further. Knock back a character when your character has knockback key phrase as part of their power. You roll doubles on your 2d6 attack roll. Oops, scroll a little farther. The comprehensive rulebook will go further in explaining the nuances of a way that the rules currently have. From directional standpoint, knockback is the same. You'll notice that there are some differences here. Knockback characters don't incur additional damage, and there's not a calculation to determine how far back they go. We believe that these changes lessen the gap between range and close combat figures, while technically sometimes a close attacker may gain an advantage by knocking back someone they're grappling with. We found it far more likely that the ranged attackers are capitalizing on knockback by sending the character into unfavorable positions. Perhaps worst of all, it's the player who is losing, usually most harmed by knockback. While you're ahead in Heroclix, you already have plenty of advantage, ranging from clicks of life remaining to characters left on the map. You rarely need to reposition and deal bonus damage to opponents' characters. We suspect the talented players that are innovative on team tactics will continue to do so, just in a new environment that nudges the balance between close and ranged attackers. The past 2 years, we've seen some characters with close attacks impact the metagame, but across a long arc of Heroclix, those figures and metagames are more exceptions than the rule. We know you're probably taking a look at some of the figures in your collection, but we wanted to share some of the figures excited to play. Alright, so here it's got some figures for you to take a look at. Batman Beyond from JLU. The Question from JLU, one of my favorite figures of that set. Starfire from DC Rebirth. I love that figure too. So that's it. I'm not going to read about each of those figures and how they improved. You can look at that. That'll give you a reason to go there. But yeah, so overall, how do I feel about these changes? Let me see here. Bolts and targeting makes sense to me. That's perfectly fine. That's an improvement, and I do think that it'll be a good idea for, why can't Shang-Chi engage 2 or 3 people? Stuff like that. I think it'll be more flavorful. You'll see it'll be more easy to accurately reflect the close combat fighting ability of certain characters. Like, I don't know that Hulk should have multi-target. He can have Quake, but I don't think he should have multi-target, whereas somebody like Shang-Chi or Iron Fist, Batman, yeah, they can engage more than one person at one time. So this is good. I like this. Then the next thing is Hindering Terrain. Okay. It's... I see that they're trying to promote, over the course of these last couple rules update, it seems like they're trying to promote a particular play style. And I get that, and this does further that play style. I don't necessarily fully agree with this one, though. About the clear for movement. I guess taxis are still important for the purpose of economy of action, but to me, if you put somebody on a map that has a lot of hindering terrain, that's one of the ways you're punishing them for poor team building or not thinking of how to put their team together. So taking that away, I think is bad. But again, I'm starting to see the picture develop on what they're trying to have players play. So this does further that. I do wish, though, with this stealth comment that and again, we don't know the PAC for this, so it could be, but I do wish that if a character was adjacent, that they could outwit the stealth. If we're going to pretend that, if we're going to say that, the character can see, somebody, they can jump over the park bench, then they can see Batman hiding behind the park bench too. If they're adjacent. Now, if they're away, I get it. If they're 2 squares away, yeah, but if they're adjacent, they should still be able to outwit and do stuff like that, just not range attack. The knockback one is interesting. Capping it at 3, that's fine. I never saw too many games where I thought like what they were saying, where the ranged attackers just kept knocking people back. That was something where you just had to manage your powers and stuff like that. Then I could see how maybe that could get out of hand for like a super new player, but not anybody that had been playing, that had a couple games under their belt. But the capping it at 3, that's fine. That's capping it at 3 is fine. The not taking fall damage, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it does streamline a lot, because there's a lot of times where I've had to talk to people about, who and what and why would they be taking fall damage. And the knockback in the walls, I can see why they got rid of it, but I think the walls one should have stuck by. But overall, these aren't bad changes. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like these, if you don't like these, what you would have changed about them. I always enjoy reading that stuff. That's all I have for you guys today. As always, please remember that it's uncritical miss if you don't have probability control.